Thank you very much, Dr. Michael Salla, for coming to my show. And today I know that it's 20th anniversary for your exopolitics organization. Is it?
That's for my website. Yes, that was created 20 years ago.
20 years. So can you please, you're global leader in this exopolitics right now. And you are in the real center for this disclosure movement. So can you talk a little bit about yourself, please?
Yes. Well, 20 years ago, I was actually a professor at American University, and I was teaching international politics. And in 2001, I saw the Disclosure Project press conference that was launched by Dr. Stephen Greer. And I realized that this was a completely new branch of politics. It wasn't geopolitics. It wasn't American politics. It wasn't comparative politics. It was something else. And so I thought it would be appropriate to call this new branch of politics dealing with extraterrestrial life and UFOs exopolitics, similar to the field of exobiology, where NASA in the 1960s talked about biological organisms outside of our Earth or in space as exobiology. So I thought this would be appropriate for exopolitics. So in 2003, I began my website, exopolitics.org, in January 20, because the university that I was working at the time forbid me from using their university resources for talking about this topic of extraterrestrials and UFOs. They forbade me. They said, you can't include anything on your university website. At the time, I had a website at American University in Washington, D.C., and so I couldn't talk about exopolitics on that. So I decided I would create a website. So that's how my website began on January 20, 2003.
Wow, that's already 20 years.
Yes, so I really began 22 years ago, because that's when I saw the Disclosure Project press conference by Dr. Stephen Greer. But it took me nearly 2 years to research the field and decided that it was real, that this was something that I wanted to research, because I was a professor at the time. And that was a very big decision to make, because my career would be risked. And that's exactly what happened. I lost my career because the university wasn't ready for this information. They said, this is conspiracy theory. It has no place in a university. If you're going to talk about this, then you need to leave. And so that's what happened. I had to leave.
So in the beginning, you didn't get any salary, or you couldn't earn any money, maybe, when you lost your work.
That's right. I began in 2001 to research it, and I gave up my full-time position as a professor to become a researcher in residence at the American University. So that began in September of 2001. I switched from being a professor to a researcher in residence, and I had to really find ways to fund myself, because I was very interested in this field. And so the university at the beginning said, well, as long as you don't talk about it and bring the university into any kind of disrepute, then you can do this research. But then when the Washington Post did a front page story in their style section in February of 2004, then the university said, oh, we have to cut all links with you, because now our name is associated with this field of extraterrestrial life and UFOs, and we don't want that.
So these people, were they threatened, or they really thought like that, or was a pressure from somewhere?
I never found out. It was very odd to me, because I was being encouraged by the assistant director for the Center of Global Peace to do this. She believed in this stuff. She supported me. But the director, her boss and my boss, at first he was kind of neutral. But then he changed. Then he went very negative. He said, no, you cannot talk about this. You cannot include it. I want to stop any kind of association. And so I do think that maybe someone talked to him and said, no, we don't want this to be discussed at the university.
Yeah, but at least you weren't assassinated.
Well, it was a career assassination. It wasn't a physical, it was a career assassination. That's what it was, because I think that's how they can achieve their goals sometimes, is that, whether it's by ending your career or financially ruining you. This is in the 2000s, I found that this was the way that the cabal operated. In the 20th century, right up until the 1990s, if you talked about this topic, you could be killed. This happened often. But in the 2000s, they stopped killing people. What they did instead was they would economically ruin you or professionally ruin you. So that's what happened to me. I was professionally ruined. I haven't been able to get a job in politics ever since. Not that I tried, because I knew I wouldn't succeed. As soon as I talked about UFOs and extraterrestrials, no university was interested.
Wow. So you had a maybe quite hard time in the beginning.
Yes. Yes, I had to go from a full-time position and a salary to really trying to survive as an independent researcher. And so that took me a long time to make that work, but eventually I did.
So you were around 40 years old, or so maybe younger?
At the time when I got involved, I was 42.
Wow, still very in middle of your career. It's very risky if you have children and...
Yes.
Wow. So that you were so passionate, so dedicated.
Yes, it was like a bell went off. It was like a bell went off in my head. It was like all of a sudden, it was like I knew this was real. I couldn't ignore this. I couldn't go back to what I used to do. And what I used to do was very satisfying. I was doing international peace and conflict resolution, so that was very satisfying. But yet this topic of extraterrestrials and a cover-up, I just became totally focused on that, and this was something that the university wasn't ready for.
So that's your sole mission. So you won't change. That's your passion mission that your soul decided before coming to this planet.
Yes. From 2001 from May of 2001, when I first learned about this issue, up until January of 2003, in that period, I was trying to decide, is this something I want to do because it's a big risk to my career, or do I want to continue to go down the path of conflict resolution? So it took me about 18 months to decide, to make my decision. But then when I made my decision, that was it. From January 2003 up until now, I've been totally focused and very passionate about exopolitics.
But now you're the real leader in this whole planet. You're so famous and everybody comes to you, right?
Yes, it's taken a long time. It's taken 20 years. And in 20 years, I have like over 1,000 articles and interviews on my website that people can read or listen to for free. It's all for free. I never charged for any article, for any interview, only the books and my webinars. That's the only thing people pay for. But all the books, all the articles and all of the interviews are all for free on exopolitics.org.
Thank you very much. You're very, very extremely generous. But the webinars you do, not that often. I always attend, not always, but every 2 months you do webinar, I think.
Yes, I try to do them every 6 weeks to 2 months.
2 months, yeah. It's very nice. But the number of attendance is growing. More and more people attend your webinar.
Yes, they are growing. Finding now I'm getting anywhere up to 1,000 people can attend the webinars.
1,000.
Yes, and that just, to me, it shows that the level of interest in people has grown, that they know that the UFO topic is real, but they want to go deeper. It's not just enough to say, well, UFOs are real and that governments are concerned about them, that they're a national security threat. We want to know who's inside of these UFOs. Are they extraterrestrials? Are they ours? So people want answers to these questions.
I've always been interested in super soldiers. Now you're really in the center of like this galactic federation.
Well, yes, it was 2014 when I interviewed Randy Kramer, and he was the first person that talked at length about secret space programs, and that he was involved in one of these, and that he was like a super soldier on Mars for 17 years. So then I began interviewing him and others, and now I've interviewed dozens of super soldiers who have been part of the secret space programs. And they have really fascinating stories to share. And of course, they talk about the anti-gravity craft that have been secretly developed from reverse engineered programs of captured extraterrestrial spacecraft.
Randy Kramer. I used to watch Project Camelot. Carrie Cassidy, I think she used to do interviews of those super soldiers or people related to secret space programs, but she's not very active anymore in this area. She's continuing, but she's kind of out of, you're really in the real center. But she did interview super soldiers like Max Spears and I forgot the name, but not like Randy Kramer, who had experience in secret space program, but that really mind-controlled super soldiers. So now you're interviewing JP and many others, like Jean-Charles Moyen and David Rousseau, and of course, Elena Danan. Do you think there would be more people coming out, like JP and others?
Yes, there are. There are more people coming out. JP is a very unusual case because he is currently, as far as I know, he is the only active military serviceman who is talking about his missions as part of the secret space programs, and he's being encouraged to do it because I believe the people running the secret space program from the military, they have broken from the cabal. So the military in control of the secret space programs don't want to work with the cabal anymore. They don't trust the cabal or the deep state. And so there's a separation. And so the military are encouraging people like JP to come forward. And I think that as time goes on, there will be more and more people coming forward like JP who are currently active in the US military and will talk about their involvement in the secret space program.
But you said that there is a plan on the Alliance side for this disclosure when I interviewed you in spring. And so this is all well planned, I kind of imagine, that JP is coming out now and all these people that's coming out in your interviews. They're all kind of under a plan.
Correct. Yes, there is a plan, and the plan is unfolding. I don't think it's accidental. You have, for example, all of these whistleblowers that are coming forward all around the same time, all talking about their involvement in secret space programs where they have seen each other. So Jean-Charles Moyen has seen Tony Rodriguez. He has seen JP. He has seen David Rousseau, and they have seen each other in space. And Elena Danan is also very active in this. So it's growing. More and more people are coming forward, and that they can confirm that, yes, I was up there on the Excelsior, or I was up there on the whatever ship, and they can say, yes, I saw you.
Yeah, because before when I was looking at these super soldiers, it was a little bit sad kind of story. But now it's very exciting. Each time you interview somebody, each time it gets more interesting and interesting. And I think, everybody will start coming to your show. Even the people who are asleep, when they realize what you're talking about, because it's so exciting. It's more exciting than Star Wars.
That's right. Yeah, because I think, people are looking for answers.
Mhm.
And what I'm doing is interviewing people that I believe are credible. Like everyone that I interview, I do some due diligence. I vet them. I do look to say, is this person speaking from a place of integrity? Are they being honest? And once I feel comfortable that this person is genuine, then I put out their information. And what's very important now is that a lot of these people have information on the Galactic Federation or on the extraterrestrials. And that's the missing link, because I think other people that talked about super soldiers to begin with, they just talked about the super soldiers and the mind control and the terrible things these people were doing. They didn't talk about the positive extraterrestrials. Sometimes they would talk about the negative extraterrestrials and the fights and the battles. But what we now are getting from Jean-Charles, JP, Elena Danan, and others is that there are positive extraterrestrials that look very much like us. They're very human looking, and they belong to different organizations like the Galactic Federation or the Ashtar Command or the Andromeda Council, and that they are trying to help humanity evolve from being a kind of insular, xenophobic planet into being part of a galactic community.
Yes, but really, the John Charles and Elena and these people all come to you, and through your interview, I start to know these people. But this was really within 2 or 3 years, I think. And it's really, as you said, it's all happening all at once in this very short period of time. So I kind of think that from now on, this year is going to be more accelerating. And really, things are going to happen so quickly that even, for me to keep up, it's, I have to always be listening. But, for the people who are asleep, I don't know what's going to happen to them, because it's already the arc is activating, and people are not ready for any of these, because they're
yes, people haven't really been prepared. I mean, you have in the United States very recently, just in the last year, you've had the creation of a new office, called the All Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, which is studying UFOs and giving reports to the US Congress. So this has started to wake up a lot of people in the United States that UFOs are a serious phenomenon, because before, a year ago or 2 years ago, if you talked about UFOs, people would think that you're just crazy, that this is not a serious topic, that you're a conspiracy theorist. Now you have reports in the US Congress, and you actually have an office in the Pentagon that is looking at UFOs. So this is now a serious topic. And so people that before would laugh, now they're waking up and they're realizing, oh, this is not a laughable issue anymore, because now we are being told that this is an important national security issue. So now people are starting to ask, well, what is behind the UFO phenomenon? So they're opening up their minds, and so they're looking on the internet for answers.
Mm-hmm. Well, so you're going to have a very important role, for all this. And did you realize that you're going to be playing a very important role in this disclosure movement? Because I thought, there was going to be like I don't know if I'm allowed to say this word, the broadcast, broadcast that people were all talking about. But, maybe you are going to wake up the people. We don't need the broadcast. This is going to be more strong impact.
Yes, it is very strange, because you would have thought that the mainstream media would have been the ones that would have broken this information to the public, but the mainstream media is going very, very slowly. They're still talking just about UFOs. They're not talking about extraterrestrials. They're saying, well, there's UFOs, they're real, they're a national security threat, but we don't know what they are. That's what you're getting from the officials, and the public hears that and it says, no, we want to know what's happening. So they go to alternative media, and so they visit me, my website or my YouTube channel, and I give them more information, and that's what people want. They want to know, well, who's in these UFOs, and are they good? Are they bad? Are these working with the government? Are they against the government? Does Russia have a program? Does China have a program? Does the US have its own program? So people are asking all these questions, so I'm giving them answers based on my 22 years of research now into this whole extraterrestrial exopolitics phenomenon.
Well, I don't want to keep you too long, because I know it's 20th anniversary today and you must be very busy. So I'm going to just follow all your interviews, because you're always up to date. Do you have any special message to the audience?
Yes, I think it's important that the audience knows that the more you learn about this topic and study it and become familiar with it, even if people around you dismiss you or laugh at you, as you get this information, share it with others, because very, very soon the day will come when everyone that would laugh at you or ignored you or attacked you because you were talking about this topic, they're going to come to you and they're going to say, teach us, because we know nothing about this, because people aren't prepared. So those people that are listening to this interview, you are the tip of the spear. You are the ones that are going to be educated, and through you are going to be educating many, many millions of people who trusted the government blindly and aren't prepared. So they're going to come to you eventually.
And you're going to be the leader. You're the legend, Doctor.
Well, it is a team effort. There are many people that are presenting this information, and so I'm very glad to be working with others like Elena Denan, Jean-Charles Moyen. JP is also going to become an important leader in this movement as well. I mean, that he's going to be very, very important in the future.
When is he going to show himself? Because everybody loves JP.
Yes, as long as he works within the military, one of the conditions for him revealing this information is that he has to be anonymous. Mm-hmm. But people that went to the Orlando conference in Florida, JP was there, and he met some of the people. So he met Alex Collier, Elena Denan, Danny Henderson, and Chris O'Connor.
Not to those 1,000 people, just you. Right.
That's correct. Yes, just like maybe a dozen people met him and introduced, and he showed them his military credentials and things to prove that yes, he is serving. But as long as he continues to serve with the U.S. Army, he cannot publicly reveal himself. That's the condition for him. But he still can talk about his missions. Mm-hmm. So this is important. But one day, who knows, whether it's a year, 2 years, I think he will reveal himself, but he is going to play a very big role, because many other people in the military are looking at him and saying, wow, if he can do this, if he has permission to do this, why can't I do this? And I think there will be other people, and I'll be very happy to help them come out and get a public audience.
So busy. JP was abducted, right, when he was young?
Correct, yes. So he had an experience in 2008 when he was only 24, 25 at the time.
I know that story, but I mean when he was like 6 or 7 or 9 in New York.
Yes, It happened even earlier, exactly, in
But
New
isn't
York.
that abduction? He was like recruited, abducted. He was on UFO, maybe.
He doesn't remember.
Hmm?
He doesn't remember exactly what happened. All he remembers was that there was a white light and that it came into his home, and he followed that light outside into the winter weather of upstate New York, and he remembers being home. So he remembers being outside following this white light, and then next thing he remembers, he wakes up and he's home in bed. So he was abducted, but he doesn't remember who.
Yeah.
But he was like about 7 years old when that happened.
That's very similar to other people's experience of abduction and memory erased. So maybe he will remember sometime. And one more question is that there's so many arcs being found or activated. Do you think there will be more arcs that would be found? Like, because there's none in Asia, not in Hawaii or in China or Japan. It's only Tibet or Pacific. There's none. It's sad.
Yes. Well, JP was told that there were 9 arcs, and Elena Danan has mentioned that there are roughly about a dozen arcs. So we are still learning where these arcs are. But I'm very sure that a country like China, because it is so big and so ancient, that there would be an arc there. Well, we know that there's something in Tibet, like a Hall of Records in Tibet. So definitely China would have something. We know the Pacific Ocean. Japan is also very old. So we don't know the full details of where all the arcs are, just that there are roughly about 9 to 12 that we've been told exist or are known, but there are others that are unknown. And at some point, according to the information JP and Elena Danan have had, and Jean-Charles, that the arcs will begin to float. They will start to come up. And this will be when you will have worldwide disclosure. So if people aren't prepared, then they're going to have big shocks. So this is the time to prepare.
But 95% of Japanese are not prepared. But the arcs, when they float up, like from the underground of Florida, they dematerialize and materialize, right? Otherwise, you can't float up from the underground.
Well, they're able to move through the different densities or the dimensions. So they can change their molecular vibration so that they can move straight through rock or the earth and then just appear. So this is something they can do. They have the ability. A lot of...
Excuse me, sorry.
So a lot of the extraterrestrial spacecraft have that ability to move from one density to the other, which is why often people see them disappear. They didn't actually move anywhere. They just went to another density. They changed their molecular vibration. Just like imagine a block of ice. If you look at a block of ice in the sky, a big block of ice, just imagine that you have a big block of ice, but then that block of ice changed its density to now being like water vapor. So now it would disappear. You would see like a cloud, and then that cloud would disappear. So this is extraterrestrial spacecraft can do something like that. They can change their density.
So you think that might happen even in 2023?
Yes, I think we are going to start seeing these things happening in 2023.
Really?
There's going to be more and more of the extraterrestrial craft revealing themselves, more people taking photos, more people having contact experiences, more people going into these underground civilizations where they meet like the ant people or they meet the people from the inner earth. There's going to be more contact. So this is all going to accelerate in 2023 because we are moving towards disclosure. Whether it's later in 2023 or 2024, we will become a galactic civilization. And that is going to be when we know about the extraterrestrials, the many different categories of extraterrestrials, and we know about the different space programs and the space commands. But between now and then, everyone has to learn. So we are in a preparation phase now.
But Elena said, like in 20 years, we might be in this completely different world in just 20 years. So, in these like anti-gravity crafts is already manufactured, mass-produced in the moon or underground places. But even maybe this modern cities might be already constructed somewhere or some. Maybe.
Yes, we're going to go through a huge transition when these technologies are developed, like anti-gravity technologies. You can build cities that float, for example, that rather than being fixed in one area, that they can float over the oceans or over land. So you can have floating cities, and we know this from history, like in the ancient Hindu or Vedic texts, they talk about the floating cities, that these were very large cities, and so you had tens of thousands of people living in those. So this is going to be the future. It probably will take something like 20 years to get to that point. But I think as more of these technologies become available, we're going to have flying cars. We're going to have a spacecraft that can take you like rather than going on a ship on the ocean for a tour, now you'll be able to go for a tour into space to see the moons of Jupiter and so forth. There will be portal technologies that become available. So people will be able to get into a portal in Tokyo and they walk out in Times Square, New York City. And this will be
Jupiter.
Instantaneous.
Or even Jupiter or moon.
Well, that's possible too, yes, of course, but you'll have to have a mask or something.
Well, anyway, thank you very much indeed. And it was a real honor and pleasure for you to come to my channel. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you.
You're welcome, Miyoko.
And really, congratulations
for
again for the 20th anniversary. Okay, thank you.
And thank you for everything you do to educate people in Japan. That's very important. I appreciate that.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. So I'm going to say bye-bye.